and I think I'm going to share some more tears before the night is over.
John Lewis, I appreciate you being with us tonight from the state of Georgia. Congressman John Lewis, who himself is being reelected, but obviously with a very unique perspective on this campaign.
Why don't we just take a break and go out and look at some of these crowds in this giant melting pot of a nation. Congressman Lewis called it a nonviolent revolution. Let's just look at all the faces and all the crowds that are gathering.
It is now 22 minutes after 10 on the East Coast. Barack Obama, 207 electoral votes. John McCain with 135. Some big states still to come. California closes at 11 Eastern, Oregon, Washington, and some major battleground states still to call as this election continues. Stay with us.
You're watching Election Night 2008.
All right, Cheryl, thank you very much. Let's go down to Howard University and Priya David. Priya, I know that a lot of new voters were young voters, and I know that 18 to 29-year-olds, 68% of them went for Barack Obama, 30% for John McCain. Can you hear me at all? It looks a little crazy down there.
It's pretty crazy out here, Katie. We're at Howard University, which is a historically black college. There are about 11,000 students, and 1,300 of them are in this room. It's hard to even hear yourself think here. There are cheers, there are tears, there's all kinds of excitement here tonight. This is one of the students who wants to be a congressman at some point.
I'm overwhelmed, as you see. We're overwhelmed. This is history. We have never seen anything like this here at Howard University, here in America, here in the nation. This is our history. This is our legacy. We can be anything that we want to be. African-American males everywhere have the opportunity. This is our history.
Thank you so much for talking with us. We also have Roberta McLeod, who's an administrator here, who seems like she's a little overwhelmed right now. Roberta, can you talk to us for a minute? Roberta, tell us how you're doing tonight. You're an administrator. You've seen so much. What are your thoughts tonight? Roberta's a little overwhelmed. There's so much here. Can you tell us how you are?
This is such an important moment for the world because
Thank you so much. Incredible senior tonight. You can feel the energy.
Lots of emotion.
Tonight.
Thanks, Priya. Lots of emotion at Howard University, and we'll be back with much more. You're watching Election Night on CBS.
Good evening, and thanks again for joining us. It is a very busy night in northern Michigan and across the country. We now know the face of some lawmakers and proposals. 9 and 10's Kevin Estebeggers has been closely following those statewide races all night long.
Rule was there. It was used only on rare and very special occasions. It wasn't used routinely. Today, it's used routinely to block the kinds of bills that normally would have gone through on an up and down vote. It's been used as a tactic by both parties, but at the moment, of course, the Republican Party in the minority, to stop almost any sort of legislation that they wouldn't have put through themselves. And that's a change.
And 60 has become the functional majority number. Democrats in reach of that, although it doesn't look like they have that many possibilities still to get there. Right now they are +4. They have 4 pickups, which put them at about 55 seats. Well, 55 seats right now. A couple of other possibilities, though. They did not pick up the Kentucky seat. This is Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader. He is going to win re-election according to our projections. That's a blow. It means that the Democrats need to go into either Georgia or Mississippi and pick up an extra vote there to actually get to 60. It doesn't look all that likely. Right now, we are projecting that Democrats will retain the control of the United States House and add to that majority. There have been a couple of Democratic losses, but more than that, gains. And we're continuing to see, Sam, a regional realignment. Northeastern Republicans having a very difficult time surviving in the current political climate, mostly because of their party labels, and the Republican Party really becoming a party that has almost no stronghold at all in a vast area of the country where they were once very strong.
By the way, ABC News is now able to project in the state of Nebraska, and we project that Senator John McCain will be the winner of Nebraska's 5 electoral votes. Well, of course, 3 of the 5, Nebraska being one of the states along with Maine, that splits by congressional district instead of winner take all. So 3 of the 5 Nebraska votes go for John McCain. The other 2 We don't have enough information to call. Well, that's right when it comes to the Congress and when it comes to the Senate. Very important to see whether the Democrats can have that kind of control. If they can't, then even with a President Obama, should he be elected president tonight, the Democratic Party will still have a problem getting its agenda through.
But regardless of that, I mean, if Obama wins tonight, looking at the numbers they have now, this is a bigger majority than any president since Jimmy Carter has had in governing in Congress. It didn't always work out that well for President Carter, but a President-elect Obama would be able to depend on a House and the Senate that at least numerically in his advantage.
Yes, President Carter was a man who came to Washington and say, well, all right, I've won and we're going to do it my way, and he's an engineer and all of that. Senator Obama, if he's elected president, probably will come to Washington and say, I know I've got to work with these people and bring them along. A little bit of sugar works more than vinegar, or some old saying like that. I'll let, if he becomes president, President Obama decide what to say. And we'll return very shortly with more election coverage from our New York Election Central headquarters.
Have yourself evening.
Thanks for watching ABC 29 and 8. Election Night 2008. Now reporting from ABC News election headquarters in Times Square and all across the country, Charles Gibson, Diane Sawyer, and George Stephanopoulos.
10:30 on the East Coast. It is now 7:30 in the West. We are 3.5 hours into the vote count. We're ready to make one more projection. This is the state of Nebraska. It is also a state that can divide its electoral vote based on which way the congressional districts vote. So while Nebraska has 5 electoral votes, we are ready to project John McCain will carry Nebraska, but so far we are sure he will carry 3 of the electoral votes in Nebraska. The other 2 we're not yet certain of and not yet ready to project. So you can look at the map. There you see it developing as we move west. The blue states going to Barack Obama, the red states to Republican John McCain. And the electoral vote total now stands at 207 to 138. Barack Obama, 63 electoral votes away from becoming the 44th president of the United States. President-elect he would be with 270 electoral votes. And there are big states to come, California, Oregon, Washington, a lot of electoral votes still out there, and we have been unable to project yet the state of Florida, North Carolina, Virginia, and Indiana, so there are many electoral votes still to be won.
But as we know, someone gave him a giant endorsement back before anybody thought it was possible, and that is Oprah Winfrey. And Robin Roberts, co-anchor of Good Morning America, my friend, Robin Roberts, has an interview.
Well, she's more than just your friend. I worked with her too, darn it.
No.
Robin, she's just claimed you as her own.
Get into it too. Yeah.
Fight over her.
It's great to see you all. And I tell you, I'm in the friends and family section right here, and supporters of Barack Obama is starting to fill up. You said it, Diane. Oprah Winfrey really went out on a limb, many people thought. She saw something special in Barack Obama, believed in him, and for the first time actually endorsed a political candidate. And just a few moments ago, I had a chance to talk with Oprah Winfrey.
It's my town. My town's been vibrating all day. I mean, from the moment I left the building this morning, the doorman, everybody's vibrating. It's just great. It's one of the greatest experiences of certainly my lifetime, and it's been wonderful, I think, for everybody in the country who has called somebody or somebody has called them. Everybody was emailing everybody, standing in line. I mean, I haven't seen this sense of unity since 9/11, really. And 9/11 was this tragic experience that brought us all together, and now we're all brought together in the name of hope. Not since 9/11 have I experienced anything even kind of close to this.
When did you vote? Where did you vote today?
I didn't vote today. I voted last week because I wanted to be. I was afraid that the lines would be too long, and I had a live show. And then I went in today early just to see if the line was too long. Would I have been able to vote?
Did you really?
Yes, I did.
And what was it?
And I would have been able to vote today because I wanted to be a part of today's big party.
Tell Robin about your voting experience, because Robin, this is a funny story. When she voted early.
Gail's doing a color commentary. Yeah. Okay, so it was not. It was wonderful because I was voting downtown, and I was voting across from a drug rehab center, And there were some ladies in there that I was like, well, how long have you all been detox? And they said, just last week. I said, okay, that's good. That's sober enough. And they were like, yeah, it was great. It was great because for many of them, it was their first time voting.
And they were proud.
And they were so proud to be there. And I thought, listen, we will even take the drug addicts' vote. We will even do that.
But you heard a lot of people voting for the first time, so happy, so proud, screaming as they came out of the
Well, I was. I mean, I had this moment where I wanted to start singing America the Beautiful. I really would have started it, except the woman next to me go, Oprah, let me take your picture right now. Otherwise, I would have done it. But it was emotional for a lot of people all day today. I'm sure you've had the same. People saying it felt like the first time. It felt like your vote really mattered. I think this is democracy at its finest.
If we rewind it a little bit, you took some heat because people are like, how can you endorse this person and then look around at this moment right now?
Well, you know, I felt something. I felt something 4 years ago when I first saw him at the Democratic National Convention. I felt something really, something stirred in me. And I believed in that moment that he was going to run for president. I've been saying it and saying it and saying it and introducing him as somebody who would run for president. And I had told everybody who knew me that if he ever ran, that I would put everything I had at stake to support him. Because there's a wonderful Bible passage that says, what does it do to gain the world and lose your soul? And I knew that in this moment in time, in my lifetime, I would have lost a piece of my soul had I not stood up for him. And so I'm happy that I happened to be on the right side of history. But if this had not turned out the way we all wanted it to, it still was the right thing for me to do in the moment that I did it. So I believe that this would happen.
And Oprah, how do you feel? A lot of people say that you are probably responsible for this victory tonight.
I'm certainly not responsible. I am not responsible in any way. Thank you, Gail.
You're not going to take any credit.
No.
Yes, Oprah was very quick to point out that she does not take any responsibility for what is happening tonight, and is saying it's all about the people that are here, and everyone's still being a little, cautious because, of course, it is not official, and so there's a lot of anticipation, and there's a big board up here, and so every time a result, another state is projected, there's a big roar as they wait for Barack Obama and his family to come out here. And as I said, it's family, friends, and can you bring little Maxwell up here? I want you all, I know Charlie, how you all always talking about babies, and Diane as well. This is little Maxwell, and you see his little shirt, he's got a little Obama 08. I've been making him cry a lot. But his mom, just so originally from Alabama, and just so incredibly proud, and saying that her son now will have a different life. I wish I had a microphone. I would talk to you a little bit, but that is little Maxwell. Thank you. So very beautiful. So there's a lot. Oh, here it is. Tell us what you were saying earlier about being here at this moment with your son.
About balance and power that we have our virtual Maxwell baby.
Harder one? No. Robin, it's Charlie in New York. If you can hear me. Robin,
I'm
it's
sorry, Charlie,
testament.
It was beautiful. I wish you could have heard her because she was just waxing poetically. So it's your loss.
This is testament to the fact that just because you have a microphone in your hand doesn't mean that you can be heard. All right, Robin, thanks very much.
Thank you all
that
very
mom will have a story to tell little Maxwell when he grows up.
She certainly will, Charlie. I was struck by Oprah saying she's not responsible, but she made a difference.
She made a difference, but she campaigned relatively little, did a few strategic interventions.
That's the point. The one big weekend, and it was early on before the Iowa caucuses, she had huge rallies in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. Tens of thousands of people, the biggest crowds of the campaign to that point, came out to those events. The Obama campaign collected email addresses, phone numbers from every single person at those events. It did make a difference.
But as we know, in the closing days of the campaign, she did private fundraisers, very determinedly not out in front, letting it be clearly his campaign.
And if you look at this whole issue of endorsements, it was one place where Obama really excelled. He managed to get key endorsements at key moments in the campaign. Not just Oprah. Senator Ted Kennedy at a key moment of the campaign around South Carolina. Senator John Kerry came out for him after his loss in New Hampshire, right up through the end of the primaries and then into the general election, of course, capped off by Colin Powell just 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, we wondered about that. Before Super Tuesday, he had the endorsements of both John Kerry and Ted Kennedy, and then lost Massachusetts.
Well, it was a strong state. It was a strong state for Hillary Clinton, but you know, she had built up a lot of loyalty over a long period of time in that state, and we didn't know how it was going to go at that point, and that's why I think both, you know, Senator Obama owes a great debt to both Kennedy and Kerry because he felt they came out at a difficult time when even their state wasn't formed.
And John Edwards endorsing him as well during the course of this campaign after he got out of the race. But George, I'm curious, having been on the inside of a campaign, how much does endorsements really mean?
They make a difference depending on who it is and how well known the figure is. I remember back in 1992, Bill Clinton did not have any national security experience, and the fact that Admiral William Crowe, who had served as Joint Chiefs of Staff chairman under Ronald Reagan, came out and endorsed him, it was a stamp of approval. For the most, you know, an endorsement from another politician won't necessarily make all that much of a difference, but whenever someone crosses party lines or reinforces you on an issue where people have doubts, it can make a big difference.
Yes, Admiral Crowe's endorsement was a big one when Bill Clinton got it in 1992. Want to go to Deborah Roberts. She is up in Harlem, north of here in New York, at the historic Harlem Community Celebration. It's being held at a famous intersection, 125th Street and Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard. And there's a lot of people gathered there in Harlem to watch the election results. We got boisterous people here in Times Square, and you got some up in Harlem as well, Deborah.
So many people, Charlie, told me that they felt drawn to this location because of the symbolism of Harlem. Fathers and sons like Daniel and his son Daniel, and my friend April here and her daughter Yasmin. People are saying that they felt that they needed to be here, Charlie, to potentially witness history. And they say they're not going anywhere until this election is over tonight. Many have been here since 5 o'clock this afternoon. There's a lot of optimism, a lot of cautious anticipation, as Robin said she sees in Chicago. But this crowd is just brimming with excitement. They're spilling out onto the street. And it's a multi-ethnic crowd, too, Charlie, as you can see. There are folks here from Europe, people from all over who wanted to be in Harlem to witness this night.
All right, Deborah, thanks very much up in Harlem tonight. One more state to call, South Dakota. We are now ready to project the state of South Dakota. John McCain will carry South Dakota. The last time South Dakota voted for a Democrat, Lyndon Johnson, 1964. George McGovern in 1970 was from South Dakota, didn't carry his home state. John McCain will win South Dakota. The electoral vote total, now with those 3 electoral votes going in the McCain column, 207 for Barack Obama, 141 for John McCain.
And I just wanted to say that posted on the ABC News website now, Martin Luther King's sister issued a statement. It takes me back to my brother's last speech in Memphis. He said, I may not get there with you, but we, not some Americans, but all Americans, will get to the promised land. And she's just issued that statement, even though we do not have the results in. Let's go out where the cameras are body surfing Times Square. There are so many people. That's all they can do. And Bill Weir is there.
That's right, Diane. The great thing about Times Square, it's a living, breathing, screaming embodiment of all of those demographics and poll numbers we've been talking about. And here we have Natasha and your sister, Lisa.
Yes.
First-time voters from Florida, yes?
Yes.
What's going through your mind? Do you realize the impact of what's happening?
Oh, absolutely. And I just realized that it's really close. I'm just hoping that this time our country gets it right. We have a president that's really in touch. I love hearing about his roots and the hard time he had growing up, and I think it'll be absolutely fantastic to have a president like that.
And Jeb, one of your friends here as well. What does this mean to you watching these returns come in?
Well, this is a historical event, and I'm just glad to be a part of it. Just growing up, I'm just happy. I'm a happy man right now. Definitely happy.
There you go. It's a little bit now. They'll put you back up there. There's a shot in the screen of Grant Park. We had to fool you and not show the people in Times Square that we were live here. Otherwise, it would have been a mosh pit. But it is the mood, Charlie, down here is, as you've said, a little bit of cautious optimism turning toward jubilation.
All right, thanks very much, Bill Weir down in Times Square. I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball, if I could, to our director, Roger Goodman. If I could, let's...
First county in quote-unquote real Virginia, Obama looks like he's going to pull it off. That's a sizable. So you got a lot of clues here tonight, Keith, that the key counties in Virginia tilting just slightly to Obama.
All right, the way you were saying that, I was just wondering if there was something else happening during your shift there, but I suppose not. I've got a question looking ahead to 11 o'clock.
Yes,
and again,
sir.
we're not going to project this, but it's such a large statistic at a point where one candidate is over 200 electoral votes in our projections.
That's right.
Is there any reason to suspect that the last field poll, which had Obama up by 22 in California, could have reversed in the 2 weeks since or 1 week since it was taken?
It's hard to imagine. I mean, here we can, do our projection here, or not a projection, that's the wrong word. Sheldon Gweiser, our director of elections, will have me for lunch for that one. But we can show you that if the polls were correct, and the field poll, by the way, it was the one that gave us the mythology of the Bradley effect, but we can go on for hours on that. But if the California polls are to be believed, California alone would get Obama to 262. You would assume the favorite son would get Hawaii. That gets him to 266. Then all you got left is maybe Washington. He's huge in Seattle. That would put him over. Oregon, that would put him over. The Oregon primary was very kind to Obama. We saw the Republican Senate candidate out there running ads, connecting himself to Obama because he didn't think McCain was the right candidate to be connecting himself in Oregon.
Chuck, before I let you go, I just want to get in one other point that I think is important. It's about President Bush. And the number of voters in these battleground states who disapprove of the job that the president is doing. How is Obama doing with those groups? If you look at the numbers, Colorado from the exit polling, he's at 72% among those Bush disapprovers. Florida, 68. Indiana, 71. Missouri, 68. New Mexico, 73. In other words, it's a big group. It spills beyond those Democrats. It gets into the Republican Party.
It does. And, there was that other question on there. I believe it's in the national exit poll, which shows that 49% believe that McCain would share a lot of the same policies as Bush. Obama's winning over 90% of those voters. So, I said this earlier before, a lot of people have come up to me. I'm sure they've come up to you, David, Keith, and Chris, and saying, what would be the state that Tim Russert would be talking about tonight? And I don't think it would be a state. I think he'd be writing Bush, Bush, Bush when trying to explain the 2008 election, guys.
All right, Chuck Todd, our political director. Chuck, more ahead. 15 minutes from now, 11 o'clock on the East Coast, and some important closings to tell you about news at the top of the hour. We'll take a break, come back here on MSNBC, our election coverage, 2008.
MSNBC's Decision 08 coverage is brought to you by Liberty Mutual, proud sponsor of Election Plaza.
Live picture at Grant Park in downtown Chicago. The excitement building. We're 12 minutes away from the top of the hour when we'll have news of additional closings on the West Coast. Pat Buchanan is here, MSNBC analyst, is joining our conversation here. Pat, one of the things that Barack Obama has to be thinking about is not just winning at this stage, but governing. And to that extent, does he look back at the Bush years and hope for not just victory, but resounding victory as he looks ahead to governing?
Barack Obama's got some very serious problems ahead of him. The market hopefully has hit its bottom, but we're all looking, everyone's talking about a 1 year of recession. He's really got $1 trillion deficit looking him in the face, and I do believe Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats in the House, they've got a 2-year window to get done an awful lot of what they want to get done.
Right.
And I think he's going to have to try to go down the center of the road because he's looking at 8 years. But David, one person who's on my mind right now is John McCain. I'm not a McCain man in the Republican Party, but here's a guy who's got to have been dealt one of the worst hands in history. His president's at 25%, dragging him down. 80% think the country's on the wrong course. We heard from Ann Curry, 93% think the economy is lousy. And he's running ahead on September 15th, and he runs into a 5,000-point drop in the Dow. And I think that's what sunk him, and that's got to be very much on his mind right now.
Pat, I have to say that I think that John McCain deserves some credit for his own loss, for having run a campaign that didn't take account of any of those things. He did have the opportunity, maybe more than any other Republican in the party who could have gotten this nomination. He had the opportunity to run against George W. Bush. It didn't seem to occur to him until the final debate. It's the first time he distanced himself from Bush. He could have run against Bush. He could have run as a Republican who had some ideas on the economy rather than just a sense of urgency without any real seemingly reasonable outlet for expressing his concerns. I mean, I think that, yeah, he was dealt a bad hand, but he did run an atrociously bad campaign.
Well, look, I'm not going to defend his campaign. I agree with you on a lot of that, rather than pile on him tonight, but I disagree with you really emphatically, Rachel, that he could have run against George W. Bush. First, you cannot run against the leader of your party, who is still hugely popular with 2/3 of the party. Secondly, there is truth in Barack Obama's statement that he agreed with George Bush 90% of the time. He was for the war. He's for the Afghanistan policy. He's for getting tough with Russia. He embraced the tax cuts. He supported the judges. I mean, was he against prescription drugs? So he did endorse him, I think, and you cannot run against the president of your own party with the economy down and expect to win. I think he did the best job there he could. I do agree there's a lot of things he could have done differently and maybe have won, but I think the market killed him.
I think that the most